Hi everyone, today we talk about the decline in the markets on Friday and if there is a stock market crash here or about to happen. And I'm going to share some information with you, and hopefully if you're a little bit nervous, it might help you invest into the stock market right now with everything that's going on. So I'm making this video because of the declines that happened in the market. We saw the S&P 500 down about 2.5%, the Dow down, the Nasdaq down, and a lot of stocks down in general. And it was a bit of a crazy day going forward, and we knew it was going to be a little bit of a crazy day because Jerome Powell came out and talked about what the Fed are going to do and cut rates, and that always moves the market. It's normally historically moved it negative all the time when Jerome Powell has come out and spoken about what he's going to do. But it was kind of like not a serious meeting. It was just kind of like a bit of an update really of what's going on. Nothing concrete coming out. And then and that was actually going positive for the first time, and the stock market actually liked that news. And then what happened is we had Donald Trump put a tweet out advising a lot of the US companies to avoid using China because of the China trade war that was going on. And it does seem like now that we are kind of back in the situation of May and December, where the trade deal now is totally the other side of where we were. And it seems like there's not really a trade deal close to happening. And that's kind of the feeling. And because of that, because of the tensions, because of the problems that not having a trade deal could cause, could this now affect US companies or the US stock market and send the stock market into a crash? Now, I count a stock market crash, and generally quite a lot of people do, as a 20% decline or more in the stock market. Now, we were actually really close. If we look at the S&P 500 chart back towards December time, we had a big massive decline there, and that decline was actually 19%. So we were actually 1% off having a stock market crash back in December. Now, obviously, there's all this talk saying that we do a stock market crash. The stock market crash kind of happens every 9 to 10 years. A stock market crash is definitely different from a recession. A stock market crash doesn't have anything to do with a recession. A stock market crash is just basically saying that there's a 20% decline or more in the stock market, and that's significantly classed as a stock market crash. Like I say, it was 19%, and at one point we were 20%, but because it didn't close 20%, it's not classed as a stock market crash. So that kind of, we haven't had a crash for 9 to 10 years carries on, but we were actually so close to actually just wiping that out, and everyone kind of saying, that we haven't had a stock market crash for so long, that kind of going out the window because we would have had one. And if you were one of the people that were buying in that December period right now, you would be sitting on a nice gain, really. And when we have a stock market crash, it's kind of feared, but a stock market crash is the time to go buy stocks. And if you were one of those that bought in them December lows, then you're sitting on a nice gain. If you kind of only recently got into the stock market of like the last kind of 6 months, you're kind of like basically sitting flat and you have no returns or a loss basically. And you're kind of like, what's this stock market business? You don't really make money off it. But if you're one of those that got them into that December lows, you'll be sitting on quite a nice profit right now. So another thing to consider about the stock market right now is that we also normally have a 10% decline every year in the stock market. Now, the closest we've got to is back in May, and in May we were kind of sitting around the 6% decline, so we're still pretty short. And also September is historically a pretty bad month for the stock market. So I'm showing you a chart right now of the stock market returns, and you can see September is clearly the worst month for returns. So with this news and historically September being a bad month, that could signal a pretty decent pullback in September. So the combination of the historically bad month in September, the China trade war news, and that we're also normally have a 10% pullback every year could kind of significantly mean that we could have a decent pullback in September, which I'm kind of hoping for, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But on the whiteboard here, as you can see, I've got December 2018 on the chart here, May 2019, which is the last two significant pullbacks. And this is the 52-week highs. Now, recently we've kind of just been trading back and forth. We came up from these December lows all the way to 52-week highs, and then we pulled back to the May lows. From the May lows, we were kind of saved because of the Fed rate cuts, and that's what sent the stock market back up. But that's when we last had some negative China news, and that's what made the market pull back. So if we put that onto a graph right now, you can see that's where the stock market pulled back in that May time. And then when we got that Fed news, that's when we bounced off the May lows. Before that, there was a lot of China negative news out, and that's why the stock market was down. So I'm kind of thinking right now, if we've got this China negative news out again, Hopefully that's going to pull the stock market back down to at least where that May lows were. And also to top that off, we've also got quite a few countries now saying that the slowdown is happening worldwide and a little bit in the US, but the US is kind of handling a lot stronger than a lot of the EU countries. But there's definitely a slowdown going on. So tops with this China trade war, the US slowdown, maybe we can see the stock market pull back a little bit now going forward. Now, I've talked a lot about here about historically what's happened and kind of tried to produce a lot of facts, but I'm going to go to my opinion now. Now, my opinion is that we're probably going to pull back a little bit because of this China trade war news and also the trade deal being just so far away right now. I kind of can't see that much positive news coming out to push that stock market forward. So I'm kind of seeing the stock market for September should pull back a little bit from here, which is what I'm hoping to happen. And I think a lot of you guys are hoping to happen as well. Now, if you're not hoping for that to happen, these are a few reasons why. When the stock market tends to pull back, that's when we get them buying opportunities in companies that are a little bit overpriced and you can easily get a good return. So, for example, if you bought back in December and you bought in that dip, you are now really, well, probably a good decent amount up on your positions. And when we get these pullbacks, that really means that we get some good opportunities getting them stock and makes you have a lot better return. And that's when I prefer to buy my stocks. So even though we're talking about a crash in a negative way today, if you are an investor, don't be scared of it because this is a good time to go and buy a stock. So even though you're kind of going to be down on the short term, in the long term, when the stock market recovers, you'll end up being in a good position with your stock portfolio kind of like on a profit because of the stock market regaining. And for me, that's why I kind of hope for a little bit of a dip or a correction, or maybe even if it does drop 20%, if we do have a stock market crash, I won't mind that because for me, then I can go out and buy some stocks like Visa that I've been watching for a while, maybe add into that Facebook position. So for me, I'm kind of hoping the stock market does pull back in September. And that's why not to be, so fearful of if you hear the word crash or correction. It's normally a great opportunity to buy. So I thought I'd share that information with you if you are a little bit nervous right now. But like I say, from my kind of point of view is that I won't mind the stock market to pull back a little bit because there's a few stocks I would like to buy on a little bit of a discount going forward. So that's me talking about the stock market crash if it could happen in this next few months really. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could give the video a like, subscribe if you haven't, if it's your first time watching my videos, that'd be awesome if you could subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.